Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to this week's Children's Corner. How many of you have read the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar? It's a book by a man called Eric Carle, and it's a story about a caterpillar. It begins with a tiny egg on a leaf in the light of the moon. And one Sunday morning, the warm sun comes up and pop! Out of the egg comes a very small and very hungry caterpillar. And he began to eat and eat and eat, but he was always hungry. And finally, he'd eaten so much that he had a stomachache. And the book goes through how much he ate every day and how he ate more one day after another. And then it comes to Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through a nice green leaf and his stomach felt much better. So he built himself a small house called a cocoon. He built it around himself and he went inside it and stayed there for more than 2 weeks. But he woke up and he was hungry, so he nibbled a hole in the cocoon and pushed his way out. And guess what? He wasn't a caterpillar anymore. He was now a most beautiful butterfly coming out of the cocoon. I'm sure some of you know the story. It reminds me of a Bible lesson, which is our Bible story for today from John chapter 3. It's a story about a man whose name was Nicodemus. Now, Nicodemus was a very religious man. He was a leader in the Pharisees and spent a lot of his time reading the scriptures and studying them, but there was still so much he didn't understand. And so Nicodemus comes to Jesus late one night and he says he's hungry. Not for a snack, not for a green leaf or a bar of chocolate or anything like that, but hungry for spiritual things. Hungry for the truth about the kingdom of God. He had all these questions and he thought that Jesus would have the answers. And so he says, "Teacher, we know that God has sent you to teach us. No one could do the miracles you've done if God wasn't with him." And Jesus says to him, "I tell you the truth, unless you are born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God." Nicodemus says, "What do you mean? How can I be born again?" And then Jesus goes on to explain to Nicodemus that we're born again when the Spirit of God comes into our hearts. Human beings can produce human life, but only the Spirit of God can produce spiritual life. So don't be surprised, Jesus says, when I say you have to be born again. How is it possible, Nicodemus says, scratching his head. Well, think about the story of the hungry caterpillar. When it came out of his cocoon, he wasn't a caterpillar, a bigger caterpillar, a better caterpillar, an improved caterpillar. No, he became something totally new. He was transformed into a beautiful butterfly. And that's the way our life can be when Jesus comes into our hearts. He doesn't make us just a slightly better version of the person we used to be. He makes us a new creation. The Bible tells us if anyone is in Jesus, he is a new creation. What is old is gone. Something new has come. When we ask Jesus into our hearts and into our lives, that new creation begins in us. God doesn't just clean us up and make us look a little bit better than we used to. He makes us a new person. That's what Jesus does when we allow him into our hearts and into our lives. Amen.
I sought both night and day.
God bless you, God keep you safe, and see you again next week.